Means, by all means, come up here and grab something. So before we begin, I'm going to go through, before we begin, one second. Okay. Before we begin, I'm going to go through everything for you guys. I see that a few of us have joined via Zoom, so that's definitely something that I'm going to be aware of. Okay, so there are a couple of techniques I'd like you guys to walk away with today. The first is a resist. Good morning. Is a resist technique. And a resist technique is applying a material that will force the paper to resist the watercolor that you place over top of it. There are a few methods of doing this. The most popular, I'd say, and common is using masking Frisket or masking fluid. It's a liquid. When you apply it on, it dries into a rubber. And then and I'll do a demonstration of that. I'll do a few demonstrations. And then when it's dry, you can paint on it. And then when it's done, you can peel away with a very special eraser. And it leaves the paper either white, or if there was a colored layer underneath, like say it's blue, and then you paint over top with like a green, whatever was covered in the Frisket is remains blue. So it's a really common way to do layering. Another form of resistance is candle wax. So I brought quite a few candles. Unfortunately, I only have blue. I brought some candles you can like carve on, and whatever you carve on, the paint can't get through the wax. So that's going to stay white. You have a question? Yes, if it's dry. If it's dry, you definitely can. But I don't think you can remove candle wax. So once the wax is on there, it's yes. If you use white, because I have blue candles, it might have a blue tinge to it. Another way of doing this is with crayons or oil pastels. Oil and water do not mix. So if you put crayons or oil pastels down, it will prevent any of the water to penetrate that and go through. Does that make sense? Okay. I also brought salt. I have chopsticks for scoring. I can go through with that too. I have Seran Wrap, which is really cool because you can do a whole wash with the Seran Wrap and then put the Seran Wrap on and kind of like have like certain sections like touch and then others not. And then when it dries and you pull that away, then it has like a stained glass kind of effect where like the color like stayed in that one area. It's a very cool technique. We'll probably do that first, and then we'll be able to like take it off at the end of class. Does that make sense? One second. Okay. Another one, I have some sponges that could be cool. I have string. So, yep, I could do some cool stuff with string. I can show you guys that. I have sponges. I have toothbrushes. One of my favorite ways to get splatter is just to take toothbrush and just like splatter it over, create some cool techniques. I have metallic pans. So if you want to try like a fun metallic paint, feel free to pick it up. I have black ink, which works a lot like Indian ink kind of thing. It's just pure black. You can create very beautiful grayscale things. I can show you examples too of some of the paintings that I've done if you'd like to see for inspiration. I also have a gold leaf powder. So if you like just wet your brush and pick it up and then add it on, it like stays on. About 70% stays on. So this is a really beautiful way of adding like gold embellishment here and there.
You can spray it after varnish.
Yeah. The powder
On better?
Yes. Yeah, it would definitely finish it. Yes. I have also like gel pens. I have so many pens and felt tip markers that you can, once your painting is dry, add in fun little marks in it. I also have brilliant watercolor ink. I have not used this yet. I'm probably going to try. I've seen beautiful things where people have like created out of water like a shape of like a flower, and then they go in and just add a drop here, 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 and it just flows beautifully all through itself. I also have razors if you want to like lift up some of it, and nails for scoring. Another cool thing, this has been a really fun exercise I've done with my 3-year-old daughter, is you take like just like a container, you put your paint down in it, or your paper, and you roll the beads around in like paint, throw them in there, and then just move it around, and the beads create like really fun painting techniques. It probably is a lot more successful with marbles and acrylic paint, since acrylic is very punchy, but these are all things you guys can try. Yep. That being said, she has the flu right now, so I'm masked up just in case, because it's awful and I don't want to send any of that with you. So I think the first thing we can do maybe is, would you guys like to see some examples of stuff I've done? Okay. Where is my share my screen? Oh, you know what? Because I'm a participant. Okay. Give me 1 second. Make host. Okay. There we go. I can share my screen. Photos. Desktop. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you. You guys can see that? Okay, perfect. So this is a piece that I mentioned with the ink. So this is the ink. It's all black and white. It works exactly like watercolor, except there's 0 color. So it creates some very beautiful black and white options. This one's my favorite that I've done. I love it. Okay, this is a multimedia piece. So I have masked, took me a long time, the exact squares of it, and then painted that black. What else was masked? This is that gold that you guys saw. Let me see. This is that ink. So I kind of just plopped the ink, and then I turned up my board and I kind of banged it a little bit, and then it like just bled. This is acrylic paint right here. And then all these little outlines here is done with a felt tip marker. What else is there? I have so many pieces. Oh, was that? Yep. Okay. So this is the hot glue I took hot glue, and this is another resist technique. Hot glue will add some texture to it. So if you want to add cool texture, you can put hot glue on it. And because the hot glue created a barrier or a resist, it stopped any of the paint and separated everything. So this is another option. Does that make sense? In the glue? You could add a wash, wait for it to dry, put the glue down, and then do it. But once the glue is on there, you can't really take it off because it rips off the paper. Yeah. Correct. Yes. Yeah. So whenever you're doing a resist medium, it's going to be either the white. So watercolor is super transparent, which means that the whitest white you're going to get is going to be the white of the paper. All right. Because it's transparent, whenever you add white watercolor paint, it tends to be very chalky because you can see the colors through, right? So either you could turn it into a mixed media and add acrylic paint, or you can use some resist techniques and really preserve the white of the paper. Does that make sense? Ooh. I'm throwing a lot of information at you guys right now, so I do apologize. We got some splattering here that was achieved with the paintbrush. If there's anything you guys also want to do, let me know, because these are probably not the Raven, because that's a little tough, but down here, if there's anything you guys ever want to actually do, let me know. The eggplant? Thanks. I'm sorry?
You have highlights block that over that.
Nope, I just lifted that. That was just a lifting technique. I think actually I just avoided painting there. Yeah, that was just avoided. There's one technique that I always like to do, one image of balloons that we will do throughout this class. And if you can tell, I wonder if I have a better image of it. There's also a lot of my own personal work in here that I don't teach, but also a lot that I do teach. These are my most recent ones. We got some cute bees. So the snowflake, I masked out, added my color, and then took it off. Does that make sense? I actually outlined it while the masking was still on there. I just go over with the paint because it layers up. So if you add more purple, then like here, that's just shadows that I added in.
How did you do the grayscale on the horse?
That's just how precise I was with my masking. Yeah. The grayscale was done with Indian ink or Chinese black ink. It acts very similarly. I have some participants who are tuning in via Zoom, which is the random questions. This was a cute little Halloween one that we did. Right here, these little fireflies are the gel pen, the gold gel pen that I did. Yeah. Oh, here we go. This is the balloons that I was talking about. So we will be doing this balloons so that you guys can see the layering process, because as you can see balloons through each other, right? Make sense? This is going to really emphasize how transparent watercolor is. All right, that being said, I feel like I've bored you enough. So let's start experimenting. Cool. Where to begin? All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wet everything. Yes, I will do the Seran Wrap first. And does anybody need Seran Wrap? Yeah, okay, I'll pass around Seran Wrap to everyone. Yeah, absolutely. Grab it. The Seran Wrap I'm gonna put next to it because I kind of want a larger space for it. So I'm gonna go there. Ooh, my tape was just taken. Thank you. And whatever you guys want to experiment with, please come up. Oh, I also have salt. Sorry, guys. That was one of the more important things that I forgot to mention. I have salt. We're going to play with salt today. I don't have any coarse salt, unfortunately, but I have some table salt and I have some Himalayan salt. So we'll be able to play with that. Like I said, my daughter has the flu. I wasn't able to go out and grab anything this week, unfortunately. Just trying to survive. I haven't. Okay. Baking soda, I'm going to try that. Baking soda, vinegar, and then you were mentioning soap and oil and just dropping it in like a wet wash? A wet? That's so cool. While it's wet? Okay. Interesting. I'm going to try that. Okay. So for the yeah, exactly. So it like pushes everything around. Okay. So the like a hand soap kind of thing. Oh yeah, dish soap would work better. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do, I'm actually gonna play with some of these, but we're going to wet, like just soak our paper.
It's not going to seep through the green tape?
It will, but the tape will keep it, the tape keeps it from like buckling and stuff as much. It helps it dry flat. Yep, there's a question asked if like the water was gonna seep through the tape. Not so much. No, it's pretty good. Yes.
So you have different, you're gonna be working on the one with the four and the.
Because I'm doing a lot of demonstration today, I'm setting it up so I can move quickly and just like bounce from one technique to the next, to the next, to the next.
So what should we do? Just the four different sections or?
Whatever you want to do. This is really experimentation. So this is about the journey and the process and not the end result. So make mistakes today. You learn so much from your mistakes, you know? Okay, so once it's totally wet, then you can add on your paint and add on a lot of paint. So it should be blooming, right? I'm going to use one of these brilliant watercolors for the first time, and I want to see what happens if I just drop it down. Ooh, pretty. So if you guys want to play with these, yeah, but it's like pure color. As opposed to like a medium, it's just like they mixed this with like gum arabic and like pigment and stuff, whereas this is just the pure color. So I'm adding, ooh, there's a bubble there. Let's see what happens. And then I'm going to put some yellow on here. So really play around with your colors. Man, these are gorgeous. And they like, ooh, do you see how they're like pushing each other around? That's kind of cool. And then I'm going to fill this in. Actually, I'm probably not going to fill it in. I'm just going to like move it around. I want some orange in there. I'm going to mix an orange. I rarely work with warm colors. I tend to be like, I really tend to favor cold colors. So I'm kind of challenging myself to work with warm colors today. Yeah, it is. And if you guys want to play with these, anything on this table is fair game. And then I'm just gonna add in a little bit of my own. And as you can see, I like to use, when I'm just dropping color, I really like to use just a dabbing technique instead of, that's pretty. Instead of, sorry, words. Instead of like a brush stroke, I like to just kind of use a dabbing technique. See how muted this orange is compared to like the yellow and the red? It really shows a difference between like the pigments that we are using. All right, I am happy with that. So now that we have this beautiful piece right here, I am taking my Seran Wrap, and bear with me while I wrestle with Seran Wrap for a few minutes. Do we have Seran Wrap pros here? Because I am not one. So then I'm taking Saran Wrap, and I'm gonna kind of like just bunch it down. Oh, okay. And then I'm just gonna, I want this top portion to have some, so I'm taking a little more. You guys can see my futile struggles with Saran Wrap. We do not have a very healthy relationship. And see how when this dries, it's going to have some really cool, like, let me see if I can get it real, like closer. See how when it dries, it's gonna have some really cool marks through there, and it's gonna dry like that so long as I allow it to dry like that. Does anybody want some Saran Wrap and to try this out? Yes? Okay. Yes, the more wet, the better. I like your lack of fear of coming up and touching my art supplies. It's perfect. It's exactly what I want. It's why I bring them in. All right, who would like some Saran Wrap? Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Voila. You're welcome. Would you like to try it? No? Okay. Would you like some Saran Wrap? Okay. I would suggest a lot wetter. Like it has to be wet, wet, wet. Do not be afraid of how wet your piece gets. Okay. Yeah, no problem. Like I have pools of water on my piece. Nice. Okay. I'm still going to help you through this. No worries. Well, I think it just needs to add a little bit of water. Do you mind if I touch it? Okay. So just like if you just take the darker color and then slowly lift up, you see how it creates more of a gradient? Is that kind of more what you were looking for? Okay. Yeah, so if you just wet it, yeah, but also if you just add water, then it starts becoming soft and like not streaky. Does that help? Was that help that? Yeah? Okay, perfect. Nice. And this is going to be great. This is a beautiful example of how it goes, like how you want to do dark last with watercolor. So you could do that too, and then just wet this and then drag the pink up and it would blend together. Nice. Did you want Saran Wrap? No. Okay, cool. So an additional technique that we have is, you know what? The salt I want to save for a few. because I want everyone kind of concentrated. Another resist technique that you can do is, do I want crayons or oil pastels? I think I want crayons. Okay. Something really beautiful I've seen done is they've taken a black crayon, and I'm doing this out of memory, so don't judge. And then if I remember correctly, I'm trying to mimic a monarch. It goes like this. And then it goes like this. And then there's this piece. Okay. Until it dries. Yep. Okay, so then I go in really hard, and this one also has a few of these, like that. It has a funner effect if it's very crinkly, yes. So then you go over, and you really do not be afraid of how much it is. So this is another crayon resist technique. If I wanted to preserve the white of the paper, I would certainly use a white crayon, but that's not my goal right now. And then let's get these. Ooh, I'm pressing so hard, my wrist is starting to get sore. Since I already have orange mixed, I'm just going to stick with an orange. And I think that's kind of how Monarch looks. Anyways, so now I would take my beautiful color, wet my brush, really soak up all of that, and I would just start adding it in. You can also wet it first. So wet all the area that you want to do like more of a wash to get it a lot more flowy. And see how the water is avoiding that black area. And then you can add like some pink in here, some. Okay. And then I'm just going to keep on dropping in color to darken that up. I'm going to add some water here, so I want it more of a loose look. And then for the background, I'm just going to do the opposite of orange, or I'm going to do the opposite color of yellow, and I'm just going to do a blue. So I'm wetting it first. And then I'm just picking up a nice blue. I'm just using an ultramarine. It's my favorite blue. Another resist technique. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Or the first resist technique that we have covered? Sorry. And since the black, because watercolor paper, I have a very textured one. So I have a cold pressed watercolor paper, which means that it is textured. If you want a very flat watercolor, then you're gonna go hot pressed. I believe it's way more expensive, but c'est la vie. So because it's
in what situation are you going to use the cold press and the wet press, the hot press?
So in situations where I really want to like have a very smooth watercolor, like if I wanted to do this resist technique, but I didn't want any of this like texture that's going through here, I would probably use like a warm hot press.
Okay.
Because then I don't have to worry about the texture of the water because then I don't have to worry about the texture of the crayon affecting and leaving blank some of these spots.
Uh-huh.
So then I can go in with black if I really wanted to darken it up. Yeah, it adds some fun movement to it. And then I'm adding in some black paint in areas that I really want it to be dark. But as you can see, it's kind of bleeding, which is also kind of a cool technique that I'm just going to let stand. All right, so that's the first resist technique that I am going to show and demonstrate. Oil pastels have the exact same form. It's just that they're softer. So you're not going to have as much texture as you would with the crayon. Does that make sense? Perfect. Okay. Let's
so
see, what
oil
other
pastels on warm press paper is going to be very, very smooth, the painting.
Yes. Yes. You guys aren't hearing this, and I'm sorry. So oil pastels on hot press paper, which is very smooth, is going to have a very buttery, smooth texture.
Okay.
Okay. So now this, my liquid frisket needs to go into the trash. So as you can see, it turns into a paste when it's finished. So this is trash. This is no longer usable. I'm sorry?
Just thinking soften water.
Yes, that is correct. Paul, may I use some of your liquid frisking?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Thank you, thank you. All right, we have some newer stuff here. This one has more of a blue texture, so I'm assuming it dries kind of blue.
Yeah.
Okay, whereas mine dried more yellow. Okay, so the way I like to use this is I have a paintbrush specifically for this. I've also applied it using nails as well, because whatever brush this goes into will ruin it, since it turns into like a rubber. Thank you. So I'm just gonna do like one of my very simple yeah, so I'm just gonna apply it. Oh my gosh, was there paint on this before?
What's the medium you're using?
Woo. So this is a frisket or a masking fluid.
Oh yeah,
and
okay.
It dries into there we go. So it's very liquid at first when it comes out, and then over time it dries into a plastic or rubber, sorry.
You don't mix color in that fluid?
No, if you wanted whatever I'm covering, if you wanted it a different color, what I would suggest is you do a layer of your color, let it dry, and then go over top of this. So I'm just going to do some leaves because I'm very comfortable with leaves. I'm good at leaves. So let's just do leaves. The masking fluid, I would say about 10 minutes. Depending on how thick you apply it. Like this right here will probably take longer because it is very thick. But again, this is the first time I'm using this kind, so I don't exactly know if like these white spots are going to be covered. Good enough. Yes. So then that's one way. Once this dries, we could go in and color over top of it. Just going to wipe off this brush. All right. Does anyone have any requests for anything? Do we want to figure out salt? Salt
Sure.
is very pretty and very fun. I have two kinds of salt here. I have just normal table salt. Whoops, this way. And I have the Himalayan pink salt. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to go out and grab different coarse sizes of the grains. The larger the grains of the salt, the more of an effect you'll get, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to do a whole wet on wet again. And then I'm going to add, I kind of want this metallic, I'm gonna use this metallic turquoise because it's very pretty. And I feel like it, and I can. So I'm just gonna do a normal, very pretty wash. I'm gonna add in some dark blue. Again, I'm using all the paints that I bought at the dollar store. So for I think $2 per set. And they have reflective. So they're they're metallic. That's the word I was trying to look for. Sorry about my lack of wording today. I'm been sleeping with my daughter for the past 3 nights, so bear with me as I muddle my way through speech.
Is there a difference in the quality of paint between a dollar store water paint and the more expensive watercolor paint?
Great question. Yes, online was just asked if there is a difference between the watercolor paint that you can pick up at Dollarama, which is called student grade paint, and the professional paint that you can pick up that are the big bucks. And yes, there absolutely is. So the dollar store paint that you can pick up, especially if it's in pans, is going to have a lot less pigment added into the paints themselves. So they're not going to be as vibrant. They're going to be very subtle in their color. Whereas the paints that you often pick up, like Van Gogh, Winsor Newton, Arches, those are all like super, super heavily pigmented. So they're going to be as bright as you can get, like as vibrant as you can get. So for the salts, I have these puddles happening here. I really want to pick those up. I find there is a happy place with salt, with working with salt on dryness. So I'm going to get there. And I can tell because I've been working with this medium so long, but it's really when it's still wet, but it's not super shiny. Does that make sense? And when I get to that place and I start adding in my salt, you guys can come up here and take a look. What I'm doing right now is I'm just soaking up the big puddles, and I'm going to let that sit for a bit so that I can add in the salt afterwards. Okay, that's drying.
The salt is not added yet.
No, I have not yet added the salt yet. I'm waiting for it to dry a little bit before I add
And
the salt.
white lines that you have on your painting?
That's just the reflection of the water.
Oh, I see.
Forgot I had coffee. I am a big fan of mark making. Does anyone know what mark making is? It's using things around you to make marks. So, for instance, I have this beautiful ring here that I think was made for a dream catcher, but I'm not going to make a dream catcher. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a color. I very rarely use Viridian green. So let's use the Viridian green. And I'm going to cover this whole thing in Viridian green. Watercolor is a little bit more difficult to do this with. Mark making is a lot more easier with like acrylics or oils. Just because like if you can't see, the coverage on this isn't great. Now I'm just gonna go in, put it down, lift it up, and I created a really cool mark kind of thing. I have seen people do really cool things with like, they have just a plethora of different mark making tools. I've seen them have crocs. I've seen them put crocs up on their canvas because sometimes they have really cute little flower prints on the bottom of them. I've seen them just collect various odds and ends. Like if I were to dip let's dip the end of this candle in and see what kind of a mark I can get from that. You can use any paint really. Yeah. It's just you're gonna get different effects. I would say just play around. If you want the most like full coverage, I would suggest acrylic, but acrylics do dry fast. So you might have to add in like a retarder into it, which helps slow down the drying process. Oh yeah, a medium, acrylic medium. Okay, thank you. Oh, do you? Okay, I do not paint acrylic stuff. Okay, so another one that I really like to do is with string. I like to take string. I like to just, what am I doing, Julie? Just dump it in. Take string, take water. I'm going to take this beautiful blue and add it in there. Okay, so now because I added the blue in there, this water is going to be very punchy and blue. I'm going to make it a little more blue. There we go. This is a really good way to also speed up your mark making practice because you can just dip things in here and then just go boop. And then it creates like a cool little texture look. So for the string, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to dip the string, cover it completely. If you do not wear gloves, let it be known that your hands will get very, very wet. So I do not suggest doing this with any of your cadmiums, since cadmium paint is very poisonous. So now that my string is fully saturated, I can come here, just kind of add it on. I've never done this with watercolor paint, so we'll see how this goes. And then I'm going to just kind of like dab it down, make sure it's touching. And then you can like pull it and it like can create some really cool effects through there. Yeah. I've also seen people do this with like, you know, those Mardi Gras beads? They're like, I've seen them cut those, and then does anyone know what like acrylic paint pouring is? Yeah. Okay.
No.
So acrylic paint pouring is basically turning acrylic paints and like adding pouring medium to it, which basically just creates a lot of that paint. So like say I were to cover my whole canvas in a layer of really, really thick and wet paint, and then I dip those Mardi Gras beads into various colors and I lay them down. Now it's going to like sit in it, and like some of that color is going to go off, and then I can pull it and it creates these really beautiful like floral shapes to it. Do you have any idea of what I'm talking about? Okay, cool. I can try and pull up some reference pictures. Okay, so now that that's dry, I can do that again with my string. So I'm just gonna re-wet my string, pull it out, add some cool layers, put it on, and then I'm not even gonna pull this one, I'm just gonna lift it off. And then I'm gonna pull this one. Woo! So it starts creating like some interesting textures. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of really like the way that this is going so far. Okay, it's only 11. You had me worried there for a second. I was like, oh no. Okay. I'll wait until, what is it? Hold on. Let me see names. Okay. That was Dahlia. You are Daisy, correct? Sweet. Okay. Are you Nina? Perfect. And then we have Maurizio, Paul, and is it Lilia?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Lilia, perfect. And then also on here we have Nisha. Perfect. I just have to mark you guys all as present. Are you guys having more fun just like observing these things? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm learning, taking notes.
Maurizio, am I like intimidating you a little bit with information overwhelm? Absolutely. Perfect. Yep, I know. I know, yeah, it's a little bit more, I'm not gonna say this is advanced, it's just different. Yes. Yep. And let me, piece of advice, your weight changes all the time. All the time. For 20 years, I was specifically focusing on watercolor. And now that I'm back in school, turns out I love sculpture. So I'm now doing these like paintings that are also sculptures kind of thing. This mixed media stuff did not touch until like the last 2 years of my school or of my practice kind of thing. Like all of this. And the nice thing is that when you learn these techniques, you don't exactly have to use them right away, right? You can just like hold them in your brain, and then one day you might be like, you know what, like I'd like to try is mark making. I've never done mark making before. Let's try it out. But then you already have like the idea of how to pursue it. Yep. Exactly. I'm just waiting for this one to dry. I'm just waiting for Dahlia to get back. Oh, there you are. I'm gonna try the salt now. So this looks pretty much good for salt. There are a few places that I have very little confidence that I'll get a decent effect. But if you guys want to come and see the dryness of my paper, you guys can come up and like kind of like move and like see the glare kind of thing to it. So like see how it's like not soaked, it's kind of a little bit more like it looks still wet, but it's closer to damp, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So then if you add your salt, it starts, these are like such small, but you can see how it's like pushing away kind of thing. If you have bigger kernels, you get more like snowflake effects.
How about sand? Would it have the same effect?
I don't think it would.
No,
That'd be interesting. It would definitely add a lot of
I wanted to
texture.
bring it up. Anyway.
I'm gonna try also this Himalayan salt because I'm like curious to see what happens there. And then if you have areas that you're like, oh, I really want this to be way more salty or like to work a little bit better, you can just like take a little bit of water and you can kind of like activate it a little bit. Yeah, just using a dabbing thing. Yes. So if somebody wants salt, I have two kinds of salt up here that they can use. Yeah. I could benefit from a studio, an art studio, because right now I have drawers in probably 6 different places of my house that have different materials in them. I would love a studio. Yes. Yeah, I'm renting my house. So yeah, it's basically a studio, except everyone lives with me. No, it's not. Another cool technique that I want to share with you guys is scoring. So if I were to, I'm just gonna wet down here, see how it like bleeds some of my color. And then I'm going to take a nail and I'm just going to start adding lines into my water. And there's not enough pigment there, so I'm just going to pick up some more. You know what? I think it's because my lines are too thin. Okay, so let's add more rough lines. There we go. So this is called scoring. It's a really good way to get some texture into your paint. So I use this a lot of times when I am adding in the veins of a leaf. So do you see how the mark that I made with that screw head, it kind of creates like an area for all the paint to flow into. So it is creating texture. Like I said, I do a lot of veins in my leaves this way, so you could like, and the wetter it's almost like it tears a little bit at the paper, so it allows more paint to flow into that area, and then it creates a darker kind of shape. Does that make sense what I just did? Okay,
Yes.
cool. So you guys feel free to play with scoring if you want. I'm gonna go back up. You guys are getting, oop, I am gonna pin this, hold on. There you go. You guys are getting a lot of information. So at some point, you guys are probably going to stop absorbing information because that's all your brain is capable of absorbing. Hi. Does it have to be wet? Yes. Yes, it does. The wetter your paper, the easier it is going to be to score. So the better, like the darker your line is going to be. Make sense? Okay, cool. I'm just still waiting for this one to dry. I globbed on a lot of masking fluid. Thank you. Ah, and now I'm peeling it off. Oh no. Ugh. I'm going to try. So I've never actually worked with the candle wax, but I'm going to try doing it just to see the difference. My grandpa always used you know the canning wax that when you can jams, you add a layer of like wax on top and it like preserves the jam. I don't know what that wax specifically is called, but that's the wax that he always used. My grandma cans jam, like red currant jam every year. And he would actually just, I'm sorry? Is it? I don't know. It's a canning wax. It's not beeswax though, but you could use beeswax absolutely. But he just had that hanging around because my grandma always like can stuff, so he would just take that little puck off of the jam when he was going to use it and like break it into pieces and start using it for his art. Okay, so there is blue transfer right here, but candles work. So if you are doing candles, I would suggest maybe like a white candle unless you like the blue, because unlike the masking fluid, once you add on your candle wax, you can't really take it off. You're kind of stuck with it. So that is one of the benefits of the masking fluid. But also you can't use, like, you can't put masking fluid on and then let's say like a year later pick up your painting and do it again, because it will ruin the painting underneath it. So I can like, it's kind of really nice having the colored candle, because I can actually see where all my wax is, because otherwise I would kind of be really struggling with that right now. Okay. What color do I want to do this? Let's do a pink. So I'm gonna pick up my alizarin crimson. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to wet all of my paper first. And then after this, I'm going to kind of let you guys just experiment. I think you guys have absorbed enough information for the day. So I'm just going to kind of allow you guys to experiment if you want. So I'm going right from my paint palette to my paper because I want it really dark. But see how the wax is pushing away all of that? So this stuff I won't be able to remove, but this one, because it's masking fluid, I will be able to remove. And then I'm going to add a secondary color of just like a little bit of more of a magenta purple.
Very pretty.
Thank you. Oh. And then I'm going to add some more water to break that up a bit.
Vet du vad, kan man inte fläska? Är det glasyr? Det är glasyr.
And then I'm just going to let that dry and then.
Short?
Yep.
No.
Okay.
No.
So I feel like you guys have absorbed enough information, and I would love to see you guys experiment and try your own thing. What do you think? You guys are feeling up for the challenge? I can come around and guide you. You can also, I brought these feathers. You can use these in mark making too. They make interesting patterns. So like if I just pick it up. Like,
C'est comme si tu peignais avec un crayon zéro. Utilise ça de technique.
You can make cute little lines and stuff with it. All right, you guys got lots of options. Again, toothbrushes are good for spattering. So you can take it and you can. It kind of gives like an interesting, like almost spray paint effect. Oh, did you guys see that in the top right there? I added in some like spray paint kind of effect. Again, you're gonna get dirty with mark making. Does anyone have any questions? Want to see like a one-on-one, more like up close personal one technique? Okay, what were you thinking? The wax one?
Yeah.
Okay. With the crayons or the candles or the masking fluid? Paula, are you willing to share? Okay. Paula is generous enough to allow you to, yeah. Yeah. Oh. Oh, very cool. Ooh, this is gonna turn out really nice when it's dry.
I'm gonna start this with the,
Here's the paintbrush that you are able to destroy. If there's any excess on it, just wipe it off with that.
okay.
Yes.
I want to get the glue or don't, this one.
Okay. Well, have you washed your brush? Like, push it against the bottom. Yeah, you need the bristles to like open up. There you go. Now it's fully clean. Okay, and this is the blue that you're working with. Okay, so now that it's really wet, you can pick it up. Okay, no worries. Let me just spread that around. Let's see how I'm like kind of mixing it together so that it's less,
That's green.
yes, less green. Okay, and now add it in. Now, wet your brush. You're gonna need it very wet. Okay, now pick up that color. Yep. Now try it out. There you go. So I think that what was happening was that you had a little bit of orange still on your brush, and then the orange and the blue mixed together and created a green. Yeah. So when you guys are cleaning your brush, if you really want to get the paint out, you need to almost bang it out in the middle of your container because you need the brushes to be forced apart so that the water can like clean out what's trapped on the middle of the paintbrush. Does that make sense? Yes.
With the, sorry, there was a lot of information.
Yes.
I really missed the masking fluid technique and all that.
You just
So what would you do first? Would you draw the leaf? Let's say I was making leaves like you.
Yeah. Do you want the leaf to be a white or do you want the leaf to be a different color?
Well, that's true, right?
Because yeah, let's say you wanted the leaf to be pink, right? I would do over your entire thing a pink wash.
Okay.
Let it dry. Take this, do your leaves through it. Once that was dry, go over, do another wash of whatever color you want the background to be, kind of thing.
Okay.
Does that make sense? A very light pink wash.
Right. Now, since I can't draw for food or anything, would you do it like draw the leaf with a pencil before I wet everything? Like
You could, but make it like almost a shadow. It has to be, because watercolor is super transparent, has to be a barely there mark. But you definitely could.
I could. How do you usually do it? How would you, if you weren't using a pencil, how would you do it?
I would freehand it. But I have a lot of years.
Experience.
Yes,
Okay.
I have a lot of experience.
I don't know.
I can draw you right here like a nice leaf if you want, and then you can see and maybe copy it. So I'm gonna go like this, and then up here, and here. Ooh. Sorry. Oh, you're good.
I can't see.
Yes, I'm doing
Okay,
this
I
for
see.
another student, but I can do it again up there as well. Give me a second. Yep. So make sure that they are constantly kind of on the same angle if you're doing a stem
Right.
of them, right? So
Right.
so if you change the angle, it's kind of gonna look a little bit wonky. Yeah, but needless to say, their eyes or like an almond shape.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. There you go. You're welcome. Okay. So what Dahlia requested was a demonstration on how to do leaves, because she wasn't sure how, like if she was gonna freehand it or whatnot. So I just showed her using pencil. I'm gonna go over here. My workspace is a little bit crowded right now. So I just basically showed her that if I was going to do, because if I freehanded this, but she requested an actual image that she could copy. So I started drawing some leaves, and they tend to be more of like an eye or almond shape. You could do like perfect ones, like, but I personally, after years, like a little bit of like variety in my leaves because I don't feel like leaves are absolutely perfect. Nature is not perfect. One of the things I love about it. And then I alternate them. So here, then here, then here, then here, then here. And the thing is, to get it more cohesive, is to, once you pick an angle, stick with that angle for each leaf. That makes sense? So if I'm all of a sudden going with a different leaf, a different angle, like say I do this, like that could work. It actually kind of looks cool.
Yes.
But if you're looking for that perfect, like stereotypical leaf shape, you could avoid that. You can also kind of put them like they are folded. I really actually like the way that
Me
it
too, I
looks
like that.
when you overlap it. This class is as much of an experimentation as it is for you guys. For me, I meant. That's a
Yeah,
really
because leaves
pretty,
overlap.
they do. It's a very pretty printmaking thing. So, yes. Once this is dry, I will be able to show you how to peel up. Does anyone have any questions or anything while I go? Do you want this? Yeah. Okay.
When is the
You are
Saran
welcome.
wrap gonna come off?
The Saran wrap is going to come off at the very end of class. I'm just letting it sit the entire class. So we have another 45 minutes. In the last 10 minutes, I'll probably tear it off. I just want this to be as dry as possible.
I see.
Usually if I'm doing this technique, I would let it sit overnight, but we don't have
Oh,
that
my.
luxury.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. Does anyone want to borrow any tools? Cool. For mark making, actually, I have created some of my own tools. This was a class experiment to do it, but I took tape and I like cut them up. And turns out that like using the end of it is like a really, really nice way. So if I take this, it's easier with like if I had a tube, but yeah, it creates like a really fun line, and then I can like move it around. So one of my classes we had to create our own tools. So I took some tape and cut it and like layered the tape and then cut it up and created some really fun tools out of it, and then created a painting out of that. So various things to get you guys thinking outside the box.
Oui, ben je veux dire, tu peux te laver tu peux t'essuyer avec le plat, ça me dérange pas.
If you talk to a traditional artist, there's a ton of rules for painting. If you talk to me, There isn't. Do what makes you happy. That being said, learning the traditional rules will help you tremendously. But I'm a firm believer in once you learn the rules, go break them. I wish I'd brought my tubes because then I would be able to show you like really good mark making. I wonder if this is, oh yeah, this is soft. So like the end of a glue stick. Let's add in. Some marks.
Oh,
Did anyone do those like grade school art pieces where they like cut an apple in half or cut a pepper in half and then dipped it in paint and then like put it down, or a potato or anything? That's mark making. It's so much fun. I do that to this day. That's a nice thing about being an artist, is it like keeps you connected to your child, to your inner child. Like it allows you to like play, you know? Any arts, yes. Even cooking. Like my spouse is an avid cooker, and sometimes it is not good. But then sometimes they screw up and it turns out the best thing ever. I think one of my favorite things about the arts is that it's a safe environment to fail. And you learn so much when you fail. You know, there's not really any consequences if my painting fails. You know, it's just me. I get disappointed, but it doesn't affect anybody else to fail. Same with cooking, unless you poison someone. Don't do that. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of times I just go around collecting things in my house and being like, oh, that's an interesting shape. I wonder what that looks like. Like the lid of this. Oh, does someone want to try this gold? The gold is really cute, is really fun. It's probably going to be like, it would be the last thing that I would do, but this gold is a powder. It's called metallic pigment. And I looked it up online how to use it because I was like, I've never used this before. The art store is a very dangerous place for me. So is a bookstore. And you just kind of like dab it on. This I have Desserts. Yep. I went to the one on St. Catherine. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was with the watercolor paints. It's water soluble, yes. So it's actually kind of turning into a paste on my painting right now. Oh, that was my coffee. Please do not dip this into your coffee. But yeah, so I'm adding in like just water and it's kind of flowing down into my painting. So if somebody wants to try playing with this, I have so much. I don't use it very often. Please feel free. Because I from what I'm doing right now, I can kind of guess that there is a very specific technique to using this, and I am not using the correct one. What if I added more? Yep, that was your masking fluid. And then this is masking fluid. And then this right here is the wax of a candle. So see the rough edges that the wax of a candle give, but then like how the liquid mask has very smooth, clean lines. Again, another benefit of the masking fluid. Depending on what you're going for. I've definitely, in all my years, I've gone to hyper-realism, which is not really a place I like to be. I really, really admire people who can be loose and just like more abstract. I'm trying to get back to that. But once you go hyper-realist, it's hard to remove that need for perfection. That's my journey. My now that I'm going back to school with like 30 some odd years of like painting experience, I find that school is a process of unlearning for me. So I'm like unlearning all the techniques. I'm trying to fail, if you will, which is kind of difficult for me anyways, since I've gone so far in the opposite direction. Yes. Problem with Canadians. Yes, authenticity speaks volumes. Yes, exactly. So like what's interesting is that like you know your stereotypical journey, the starving artist had parents who were like don't choose art, pick a real job, stuff like that. I had the exact opposite of that. My grandpa was an art teacher, my dad went to school for art. All my cousins do art. I was surrounded by very successful artists. So I found myself growing up trying to gain their approval, trying to create works of art that were for them, that had selling value, that were technically beautiful. And then like maybe 2 years ago, I decided like, F that, I want to start creating artwork that I want to see, that expresses me. And since then, I've become a lot more experimentation. I've been a lot more like reckless with my art, but also I've had like more results that I like. Like I used to just do like florals and landscapes and stuff. And one of my favorite pieces was that flower that you saw where everything was bleeding and like it was mixed media and stuff like that. I have a love of ravens and like crows. So like one of the last paintings I did, I'll share my screen again. I'll share my photos. One of the last paintings that I did before I really like went back into school and stopped doing watercolor, what is like this painting, and it's one of my favorites that I've ever done, and it's so not a traditional watercolor painting, right? Yeah, so I started painting for me. Turns out I like spooky, I like gothic, I'm very inspired by Edgar Allan Poe, and not so much Salvador Dali. He's not my style, but yeah, I would say like the best thing you could do is figure out what you want to see, and like it doesn't have to be anything anybody wants. I also started painting with like my emotions. So like this painting was I was being a model. So I've done a lot of like life drawing through my years in school, in professional school, where you have a nude model standing in front and they do poses and stuff like that. Well, I decided I wanted to be in that position just to know what it was like. So I decided to sign up to be a model. I was so nervous about that and so scared. So I decided to let that out and paint it. And I showed up to the class feeling more confident, feeling like ready to do it. So a lot of times I do. So that was this one. I was feeling uncomfortable. This turns out this is what uncomfortable felt like at that time for me. Very gross. I don't like it at all. The colors are just so uncomfortable, if you will. I have some other ones. I believe this, yes, this was me processing a miscarriage kind of thing. So super, super dark, very gross, but beautiful piece of work. This was just allowing myself to reconnect to my inner child, allowing her to say something and express something. And I come from a place of trauma. My upbringing was very traumatic. I didn't have a lot of safety, and I feel like you can see the transition from like scared and unsafe to creating a place now where I am safe and I have created safety in my life.
Good for you.
Thank you. So, does anyone want to know my process of how I do this? How I go through this? Like, is this something that anybody would be absolutely interested in, like taking home and doing in the private their own home?
I would.
We have a yes over line. Yeah. Okay. No, we don't have time. I will explain it to you. And then, yeah, I'll just explain it to you how I do it. Again, this recording is going to be posted on YouTube. So if you want to come back to it and check out any of these techniques or anything, I will, you'll have options to do so. So I'm going to stop the share. For my painting through my emotions is what I like to call it. It's both a physical and an art practice for me. It takes roughly 2 hours, sometimes 3, sometimes 1, depending on what I need to get through. I always spend the first like 5 minutes connecting to my breath, going into my body. So I'll do usually like a full body scan of just like being aware that I'm breathing into my belly, and then like feel your feet relax, feel your calves relax, feel your thighs relax, feel your bum relax, feel your bum if you're sitting rooted and like held by the ground. And then I work my way up. And then from there, I start to create my intention. What is the emotion? What is the aspect that I want to process right now? And I allow myself to get right into it. If it's uncomfortable, I feel uncomfortable. The only way to work through heavy emotions is to feel them and allow them to move through you. And then I get up and I move. I physically dance to that emotion. What does that feel like? Kind of thing. I move my body. And then once I feel like I am very much harnessed in that emotion and I am fully present in that emotion, I start painting. And I start painting. And then every now and then I end up like reminding myself of my intention, and I just keep on painting. If I stop and I feel myself thinking too much, I immediately tune back into my body and start like just painting from my body kind of thing. And then through that process, it transitions. It might have started to comfortable, and then all of a sudden I'm painting relaxed and calm kind of thing. And then once it's done, it's done. And that's how I do it. And it's powerful. And it works for me anyways. That is how I use art therapy for my own personal self. I don't know if that resonates with anybody, but that's my own personal experience. Okay, so this is fully dry. You'll be able to see that with this gum eraser, it's a very specific eraser. I'm just going to peel that off.
What's the eraser called?
I don't know. I think it's just a gum eraser. It's like an eraser specifically for removing liquid mask.
Okay,
So
good.
yeah, if you go to purchase liquid mask, if you do it through Amazon, it has a lot of like referred products.
Okay,
It will definitely come up. So you can see that I accidentally pulled that part up when I was trying to test out how wet it was. So that didn't work out. But notice,
you can put white over it, no?
put white over it. I
Well,
can put other
oh,
colors
there's
over
that
top of
leaf,
it.
that leaf that you made a mistake for.
Okay, yes. So there's a comment online that says you can put white over this area of mistakes. The issue with watercolor white is that it's super transparent. The only way that I would be able to get rid of that is
Okay,
either by scraping off that layer of paint. So you could take a razor and you can like scrape it off, but again, look, it's peeling off pieces of my paper kind of thing.
no,
So that
put
is an
acrylic.
option. Or you could do acrylic, yes, but you will no longer get that watercolor. If you wanted to put color over top of this, you would not get that effect, that watercolor effect, if you put acrylic down. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
But yes, you could definitely put acrylic over it. I've cheated with acrylic all the time. I say cheat,
good.
it's not cheating. I'm sorry? Yeah, absolutely. Like I have like a white pen right here and a white acrylic pen. If I'm doing snow a lot of the time, or stars, a lot of times I'll just go over my black background and like add little stars into it. Although this is not working out very well right now. That acrylic paint, that gel pen has seen better days. Yes. Yes. Oh, come here. Come there. Yes. No problem. Yes.
Yeah, I'm having, okay, so basically I colored it so it's light now.
Yes. Perfect.
I need the marking fluid,
Masking fluid.
the masking fluid.
Yes.
Did you say I have to wet it? Like
No. If you're putting masking, unless you want, yes. Okay. Might I borrow this again? Thank you.
I was too concentrating to do the leaves.
No
And,
worries. I'm gonna take out this center core. Here, this is what I'll do. Okay.
But
Oh my god. Was it not liquid at all? There we go. There's some liquid. There you go.
brush, okay.
Yep.
So I put it around or?
No. You're going to color this in. So wherever it was white, I put masking fluid over that spot. Does that make sense?
Okay, like completely over the leaf or just the shape of it?
I did completely over the leaf to do a wash. You can go just around it, but if you do a wash, it's going to go into that leaf. You can avoid around it, but I would say just do the whole leaf. Yeah. I'm starting to make things a little bit convoluted. Yes. Just in. All right, my phone has very little juice left. Yeah, apart. Okay, that's still drying, I think. Nope, this is all dry. Okay. So right now what I'm doing is I'm going around. It doesn't look like the salt did much to my painting, but that might be because of the fact that it's pigmented. So it's metallic. So the metal in it maybe didn't have quite the same technique, or like because there's like little flakes of metal in it, it doesn't react the same way. I can try and show you the overall. Whoop. Yes, and again, every time you remove paper from your painting, please pull away.
What's the difference between pulling away and pulling towards?
If you pull towards,
Yeah.
pull towards and your paper is still wet, you're going to tear into your paper and ruin the
I
painting.
know, but even if you pull it away and if the paper is still wet, it's going to tear.
It doesn't have as much likely of a chance. Like right here, I have some tearing, but because I pulled away, it didn't go. So first salt, this is usually the kind of technique you'd expect to have. It didn't work very well here, but I think that's because of the metallic aspect of it.
But it's very nice
Hi.
too.
Garbage. Found these two. They're kind of like for painting.
Oh, that's pretty.
Maybe put it in your archives or something.
For sure, yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you. Okay. Ah. There we go.
Quite nice.
Yeah, I'm happy with them. They turned out really nice.
Me too. Me too. I'm happy with them for you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's kind of unusual. Interesting.
So I did pull away while it was still wet, and it did take up the first layer of paint, or it took off like a layer of the paper, which I'm okay with.
Oh, I'm surprised that it didn't bleed through.
Yeah, because the Saran Wrap created like a seal all the way around the area. So it like creates these interesting, like it's almost stained glass almost in it.
Yeah, but I thought that it would bleed through the
The tape.
green tape.
Yeah, no, the tape creates like a decent barrier to it. So I like to use the tape.
Good, nice.
So yeah, when you remove the Saran Wrap, you get this cool like effect to it. Yeah, so like that's pretty interesting, eh? You could definitely like you can create images over top. Like what I would do with this probably is go around and create like these like leaf shapes over top of it, like to just add, like this would be nice to put mark making with black felt pen over top of it. So as an example, I can do it here. So I have like a really cool background now. I am going to take, let's see, this is small. Where's my extra small? Here's fine. Nope, I think I want small. Yep. So I'm going to take my small brush or felt marker. I'm just going to go in and like start and then add in some fun leaves.
And then you can overlap them too.
I'm planning to, absolutely. I'm planning
Yeah.
to overlap them. Well, see how that adds like a layer of interest
Yes.
by just adding in the black marker over top of it?
Very interesting.
Yep, just a felt marker. Yeah. I can take a circle. This is a nice circle. Put it there. Add in a circle there. Okay, that was thick. Let's go with a smaller one. Now, I do a lot of this mark making, so. If you do decide to go over with a marker, make sure it is critical that your paper is dry, because you will ruin your paper or your markers if you add water onto them.
You ruined the markers. Oh.
Yes, you ruin the markers. I want that thicker. Oop. I definitely like the thinner marks better, but now I know. So that's probably what I'm going to do to this one. Is put like these darker marks over top of this, just to make it more of an abstract. Use it as a background for an interesting thing over top of it.
How long did it take to dry?
This, it's still not dry, but I took it off after an hour and a half. Yeah.
And it's interesting how some of the stuff in certain
Absolutely, yes. That's my favorite thing about like this form of experimentation, is like it has a mind of its own.
This one, because
This is mark making. So I layered over different marks. I using the string, dipping the string in blue, latting it on, passing it down. These circles are just the end of a glue stick that I used right here. This is scoring. Have you ever scored before your paper? Okay, so you just really wet your paper with the color on top, and then once it's like nice and so wet, you can just take like something and just score it. Yep, and then it like tears up the top layer and allows all the paint to soak into the bottom layers underneath it. So it gets like a lot darker. I do a lot of veins and leaves this way. This over here, this splatter, this very light splatter is a toothbrush, me flicking the toothbrush. This circle right here is, I like painted this with green and just kind of like stuck it down. Yeah, and then just felt tip over top of it. I think I took my candle and like dipped it in paint and just went like this too. Thank you.
Brush.
Oh, you don't. That's a ruined brush. That's yep. You're welcome. Yes. So when you use masking fluid, you can use a nail to apply it, or if you have a crappy brush that you don't want to use and you want to throw away, keep it for, but I will keep that because that's just my masking fluid brush.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So I did put the masking fluid. So what do I do after, you say?
You wait until it dries,
Okay.
and then you can add paint, like washes and everything over top of that,
Oh, okay.
and none of it will penetrate into the actual paper. And then you take it off with this. You can have that.
Oh, that's nice.
I have so many of them.
Oh, okay. So, and you would do it just.
Yep, just like start, here, I can show you. You just start like that little bit, and then you can like actually peel it off and stuff, because it turns into a rubber. Yes.
Cool.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. My pleasure. So what do we think? Did you learn some new techniques?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay.
Thank
This
you
is the
very
first time I've
much.
taught this kind of a class. Did you guys enjoy this class?
Yes.
It's okay to say no.
No, we say yes, I did.
Okay, cool. Awesome, guys. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the Zoom recording because my phone's about to die, and I think that's about all the information I have to give you guys. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Take care.